What is up, you beautiful gamers? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the weekly Respawn recap. Also back is Nicholas. Nick, I love you. Say it back.
God dang it, Jake. I love you too,
And
man.
with that, we love you guys too. Let's get into it. And this Nicky boy, man, we got a weird one. You know how you go to the bathroom sometimes and and sometimes you might want to take a picture of yourself for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And whether it be a friendly picture or I don't know what started this one. It was actually a Twitter account known as American Dad Live, but it was really sparked by TTfue this past week. The Fortnite scene, man, continues to baffle me. I know you probably saw it on your timeline, that being TTfue starting the trend of taking some poses and pictures in bathrooms. A lot of Fortnite creators and players also taking after him. El Gorgo being a big one. Even Aiden adding on to that. It was a weird one to come back Monday morning, bright and early, and all of a sudden have all of these Fortnite creators taking technically nude bathroom pictures.
I have a confession for you. I think about like a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I made a picture like that as well.
Dude,
I can pull this out for you right now.
I thought you were going to say a year or two ago, I took nudes in the bathroom. But either way, you know, it's continuing to be a great time to actually cover Fortnite. Obviously not too big of a story, but in case you guys did miss it, TTfue really sparking a trend out there, continuing to be an outstanding brand because the last thing we'll leave it on is Imagine Ninja.
I would love to see that.
And now we're all picturing it. And Nicky Boy had a killer video in case you guys missed it this weekend, that being a play on words of Valorant bleeding viewers for many streamers out there. And yeah, we like to be a little, you know, fun when it comes to Respawn recap, but certainly an ongoing issue. In your video you mentioned a lot of top figures out there don't enjoy playing and some just don't enjoy watching the game. Courage himself taking to 100 Thieves podcast to literally state that as he plays Valorant, he's hemorrhaging viewers, losing viewers in case you guys don't understand, and that's why he, amongst others, will just not be playing it because they don't want to sacrifice their audience to play a game like Valorant.
Yeah, it's something that we've seen a lot recently with those big streamers because, you know, this game is not for everyone. But I imagine that as time goes on and as, you know, more stuff gets revealed and we learn more about the game and as players get really adapted to the game and as they update it more even, I think it has the potential to kind of have like that growing viewer base again.
Yeah, and you've definitely been fair in your takes. You know, we obviously want to call out the obvious issues of the game, but you've been very fair on the flip side of things. It's still doing a lot of things great. We even talked about T1 signing teams still before there's anything really announced for the game. The hype is still there. It's certainly a different type of hype, and we'll see as to what you said, how it continues to build, because I think even the fans in the game can understand that it is struggling in terms of viewership, but how can they continue to build and update the game, and can it grow long term is now the impending question. And from the Call of Duty scene, we had tons of drama this past week. We continue to break it down. One of the bigger stories, that being one of the all-time greats by a lot of eyes out there, the best Call of Duty player of all time, the GOAT Karma, has now, that being Damon Barlow, retired from Call of Duty, which is pretty crazy to see. We also have seen plenty of Call of Duty pros out there complaining about the current game, but it's always it's a weird thing as we cover more esports to see, you know, all-time greats finally leaving the esport, maybe going towards a streaming side. So it's pretty crazy to see an all-time great like Karma. The big thing here, though, retiring mid-season, which is certainly a rarity.
Yeah, that kind of says something about this Call of Duty, doesn't it? Or about this, you know, esports league in general?
I think it makes people wonder exactly why. I don't know if we'll ever know the full details until he maybe wants to come out about that. We've heard a lot of issues, if you guys have been viewers of the channel, about the Seattle Surge in general, the implosion of that roster, how broken it is, how publicly all of their starting members and all of their members in general have stated the problems behind the scenes. And I think it leaves everyone wondering, what was the tipping point? You know, Karma has now stated he lost motivation during this game and other titles as well. But it does, because it was mid-season, because he's an all-time great, it makes everyone wonder what was the exact moment, if there was one thing that caused him to all of a sudden just be done. And also, Shroud is now doubled down. We've also covered a lot of Shroud clips. We do appreciate him, but he's doubled down in his stance about aim assist, and that being mainly mouse and keyboard versus controllers, and the fact that he has now doubled down. Firstly, he's actually stated they should not be in competition or the same tournament against each other. He now says they really should not be in any competition for any sort of prize money against each other. I want to bounce your thoughts off this when it comes time for future esports, you know, what the adaptation is going to be. If someone like Shroud out there says they just don't belong together, and if Fortnite or Warzone or other games cannot fix that gap, do you think a game can actually ever have mouse and keyboard versus controller players?
I think it's really tough to say that. It's such a hard thing to balance together that I want to say no. Like, naturally, I want to say no because I don't know how you would ever manage to get to that point of it being completely fair between those two platforms. But man, this is like something we've been talking about for so long that, like, how will you ever fix that issue over time? I don't know.
It's like, it's the question. I don't really know if there is an answer. And obviously when it comes to casual games, Warzone and Call of Duty in general, and Fortnite especially, have succeeded so well casually because they allow them to play against each other. Shroud's main point here is when it comes time for actual competition, it's just not fair. He makes a really good point to say that each one has an advantage over the other, and until you can balance every side of that, they just don't belong in competition together. You know, ironically enough, Nick, sometimes I look at you
and you see Nickmercs.
I see a young Nick. No, honestly, now I'm just.
I can kind of see it too.
Yeah, you got the beard. If you just kind of, if you're halfway off the camera with your controller, and you can only see a third of your face. Jokes aside, guys, we had a huge story this past week. And it was a pretty serious one you and me have talked about, a lot of people have talked about, that being the ongoing rivalry between Nadeshot and Nickmercs about the 5% ownership deal that obviously fell through between these two. Now further information coming from Nickmercs' side. It's a pretty serious topic, right, Nick? Especially because we've been fans of Nickmercs and his work. We're big fans of Nadeshot, 100 Thieves as well. And now Nickmercs, a part of FaZe Clan, has done very well. And he continues to come out and further explain his side of things. And the important part here being we have continued silence from Nadeshot on his side.
And then motherfuckers were telling me like, oh, well, you're a dumbass for not getting in writing. I mean, all right, you know. True, partly true, you know, but you got a great friend, you know, you move across the country, you're doing something together. You got to have some kind of trust or else you can't do any of that, right? So, yeah, I get it. But I mean, what's trust, right?
And maybe this is the move right now in esports, is to just not respond. And we've covered a lot of controversies across a lot of scenes out there. And typically what I've found so far is the best thing that works out right now where we're at currently in the scene is maybe not addressing the issue because you only bring more eyes to it. You can imagine if Nadeshot were to respond right now, you just kind of reflood the gates of everything that's already been surfaced and resurfacing all of that. And so I'll leave you on that question. Do you think it's best right now currently where esports is still in its infancy to maybe stay quiet?
In their situation, probably. It seems like Nickmercs is kind of set on not really reviving his relationship with Nick or with Nade, and it seems like it's going to be continuing that way from what he's been saying. So I don't know if there is any sort of resolution to come out of it, except for just silence and just do you, because that's kind of how Nade left off, right? He's like, I'm glad he's got this organization how it is.
Yep.
And he's obviously worked very hard for it, and I think they kind of just went their separate ways with that.
Yeah, and I think we'll see how we move on from here, guys. Obviously, fans of both sides are going to be left wondering, will this be a forever silent case? As of right now, it remains so. As per usual, though, folks, we hope you guys all enjoy it. Nick, it's good to have you back on the Respawn Wee Wap.
It's good to be back with you, Jakey, on the Respawn Wee Wap.
As per usual, dude, you know what I'm gonna do to you. Why don't you say goodbye to our fellow viewers?
Oh man, goodbye, everyone. Hey, you told me what to say this time. You said you have anything to say for the viewers. Usually, you told me to say goodbye this time. I knew what to say.
We will see you guys back here next week. All right, stay safe, gamers.